Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Front Row Access Podcast. I am your host, Steven Russo.
Anthony Gonzalez here.
Let's fucking get it. Well, guys, it's that time of year. There's a UFC pay-per-view this week, and we got to talk about it. Actually, it's in 2 weeks at the time of this recording, but by the time this is uploaded, it'll be fight week. So,
Indeed.
of course, we got to go over this shit. UFC 305, Drakus DuPlessis, your reigning and now defending middleweight champion of the world versus Israel Adesanya. Wow, right? Izzy's finally back. And how we feeling?
It's all about which Izzy we see.
Yeah, we'll get back to it is. But how do you feel about it just in general? Of course.
Glad to see championship being defended. It's a pretty quick turnaround. I've seen people wait a lot longer for it. It's going to be a banger of a fight, obviously. That's what we're expecting because both these names draw attention to them. They got a following each, and both are very well deserved.
And it's gonna be a pretty good pay-per-view card. Our pay-per-view card, we're gonna go over all of it like we usually do. But of course, go ahead and follow all of our socials. We are on Twitter or X, whatever the fuck they're calling it these days. Instagram, TikTok, and fuck Facebook. We ain't on that shit.
So long as it's still called tweets, we can call it Twitter.
Exactly. And a little bit of MMA news though. We have Conor McGregor recently taking shots at Max Holloway on Twitter. I'm like, guy, can you just focus on one frickin' fight?
Seriously, I know it's supposed to be he's the guy for UFC. He's the guy.
But he hasn't really been that.
Not only
lately.
have you been inactive, but when you do get active, you postpone it and bitch about it, trying to get yourself a different fight. It's just come on. Stop being a crybaby, Greggy.
Just go ahead. Just fight Chandler, man. You've already got a fucking leash on him at this point. So just fucking finish the job, man. Take the dog out back and bang, all right? But not that I'd want that to happen to Michael Chandler, but at this point, that's what Conor McGregor's mentality should be. And Michael Chandler should just fight somebody else at this point, man. It's just been too long, and I don't see any place where this can get confirmed. They're talking about December, but at this point, I don't know, man. I thought that would have been a perfect main event for the Sphere. Instead, we got Sean O'Malley and Merab Dvalishvili, which is fine. I love that fight, but does it really scream Sphere worthy? Let's be honest. I mean, Sean O'Malley, yes, but Merab, the bantamweights, I don't know, man.
You know how Dana's trying to get freaking Sean O'Malley to be the next Greggy?
Of course, he's already pretty much given him that treatment. But, I just think it could have been better. But maybe I'm just demanding too much because I'm a spoiled MMA fan. That could very much be the case. But anyway, that is UFC 306. We are on UFC 305 right now, and that's what we're going to be focusing on. So August 17th, Saturday, ESPN pay-per-view, live from, I think, Sydney, Australia. So, we're going to be in Izzy Adesanya's backyard. And, of course, another Izzy title fight. We ever going to really complain if Izzy gets a title fight? Albeit...
I'm sorry, I'm just laughing right now in my head because of fucking the interview I saw with King Green.
Jeez. What did he say?
I'm gonna come to your backyard and
I'm gonna
whoop your ass.
And whoop your ass. And
he's gone.
And then he went into his backyard, got his ass whooped, and then now King Green has gone back.
To Patty Pimblett for that. I still don't believe in the hype, but I mean,
that was impressive. That last time.
Keep on trucking.
And last time out was impressive. That grappling, second to none. But then again, King Green shouldn't have fucking shot on Patty Pimblett. You fucking shot on the jiu-jitsu guy. Dude.
You thought he had it?
Nah.
You remember what he was saying? He needs me for this ranking.
He needs me for this ranking. I'm gonna own his ass. Yeah, sure, King Green, sure. Go ahead and just change your birth certificate back to Bobby at this point. You ain't acting like a king lately. So, maybe you are acting like a king, just a really arrogant, power-hungry king. But
I think he did stay in the octagon to say, yeah, he's that good.
Yeah, he's that good, guys.
He could have just left. He could have just left, I guess.
Hey, man. But on paper, this is a really important fight for UFC 305, Drakus and Adesanya. It's a very, very important fight for both of these guys. Now, as you guys know, we're gonna go more into this later on, but Drakus is a newly minted champion, and the way he got minted as the champion was, albeit very, very controversial. I mean, I personally had it 3 rounds to 2 for Drakus at the end of that fight, but there are plenty of people that had it 3-2 Strickland, and I could totally see why. It's just, it was a very close fight. It came down to a coin flip, and Drakus just happened to be on the right side of the coin flip. And now he's the champion. Sean Strickland would go on to fight Paulo Costa. Now he is firmly the #1 contender and will wait out the title shot and will get the winner of this fight. Whether it be a rematch to Drakus or a rematch to Izzy, we won't know until we get there. But it's happy to have Adesanya back. He has not fought since September of 2023 after losing his middleweight title to Sean Strickland in Australia. So, you know, we'll get more into that though, but we're gonna go down this whole card now. Opening up the card, we have a pretty exciting fight at welterweight. Li Jingliang's finally back after 2 years away. This guy's got really, really good power in his hands, supremely good boxing, decent takedown defense, and we also have Carlos Prats, who's he's coming off of a round 1 knockout versus Charles Raddick in June of this year. But at this point, man, I mean, this dude was fighting on the prelims sometime in June. Li Jingliang was supposed to be on the pay-per-view card at UFC in that big catchweight card where they had to flip the whole fucking shit around in the 11th hour because Hamzat just had to go and start some trouble out in the back, so they had to cancel the press conference. Li Jingliang had this nice powder blue suit that he was going to wear to his first ever press conference, and he never got to wear it. This poor guy. And then, of course, Hamzat just causing trouble. And then, of course, on the day it's time to weigh in, he misses weight by like 8 fucking pounds and then has to change the main event from Nate Diaz and Hamzat Chimaev to Nate Diaz and Tony Ferguson, who was also on that card. He was supposed to fight Li Jingliang at first. And then, obviously, Sean Brady was supposed to fight Kevin Holland. Then Kevin Holland went to go and fight Hamzat Chimaev on short notice. Like, way to go, Kevin Holland. Like, you had no chance of winning that fight, but you still fucking took it, and you still cashed the fuck out through it. I think Dana told him. I think Dana said after that press conference that he gave Kevin Holland like an extra 80K just for taking that fight versus Hamzat. I mean, it just goes to show like how reliable Kevin Holland is. We love Kevin Holland around here.
I thought we were gonna say how unreliable Hamzat is.
How unreliable Hamzat is and how reliable Kevin Holland is. It just shows the two parallels of these guys, you know. Obviously, Kevin Holland had no chance going into this. He was defending pretty well, you know, until he wasn't. And then that was that.
He wasn't prepared for a fucking Chimaev.
And then Daniel Rodriguez would go on to fight Li Jingliang and beat him. So, unfortunately, not only did Li Jingliang not get to wear his suit, he wasn't fighting the guy that he was training for, and he lost his fight. This poor sucker. And he has not fought in 2 years. And now he's finally back. And I'm happy to see him back. And
that card is actually where my origin story for my despisement of catchweight comes from.
yeah, fuck that shit, man. I mean, they arguably made a better fight card out of that weight miss with Tony Ferguson and Nate Diaz. Because let's be honest, guys, Nate Diaz was going to get absolutely fed to Hamzat Chimaev if that fight were to go through. And I think it's because Dana wanted to give him the big fuck you for not renewing his contract when he pretty much was willing to throw a bag at him, probably. So, Nate Diaz is a superstar. Obviously, he's been doing stuff since then. He went and boxed Jake Paul, made some money there. Just got a win over Jorge Masvidal last month, and that was a good fight. And Nate's doing some pretty good things. He says he wants to get back to the UFC at some point. When that is, I don't know. But that was that's Nate Diaz.
Aren't we supposed to hear from Nick Diaz too?
Yeah, Nick Diaz was supposed to be the co-main event last week on the Corey Sandhagen and Umar Nurmagomedov card, which that was a very close fight, Sandhagen and Umar Nurmagomedov. Obviously, Umar came out with the win at the end, but god damn! Corey Sandhagen's takedown defense was on fucking point that night.
He was taking lessons from Dustin Poirier.
I swear, he took lessons from Dustin Poirier and Kamaru Usman all at the same time. Trevor Whitman did wonders with putting that takedown defense into his brain. Just unfortunately, with Umar getting those takedowns at the end of almost every single round, I think that's what swayed the judges to go after him.
Scored higher than the defenses and all that.
And you don't get points for defense, unfortunately. That was a good fight though, but Nick Diaz, no, they said they postponed the fight. Him and Luque were supposed to be the co-main event, and they said they're gonna postpone it to a later date. I don't know when they'll do it. I think MSG is the place. I'll be honest with you. I think you save that fight for November. Let them get back to the training room for a little bit. Let them do a couple more rounds in the gym, and then let them go fight in New York City. I think that's a good reroute for him. Because let's be honest, we have another Abu Dhabi card coming up in October, the end of October. We get 2 pay-per-views in October, guys. So happy birthday to me. That's my birthday month, and I get 2 fucking pay-per-views. Which good and bad. I still have to pay for one of them, but it's just it's gonna be good. We got UFC 307. Main event hasn't been confirmed for that yet, but there's not even any like rumors. I heard like faint stuff with Pantoja fighting again and Pennington finally fighting on that card. Whether that's a co-main or main event, I don't know. We'll have to see. But UFC 308's looking really good though. That got confirmed over the weekend. You guys probably saw it. Max Holloway and Ilya Taporia for
Yeah,
featherweight.
we were supposed to. We were actually supposed to make we were supposed to post about that.
And we never
when it
did.
got confirmed. I think we were in the middle of watching fights.
But anyway, that's your co-main event. No, not your co-main event. Your main event for that one. And there's also a banger fight card that goes along with it, but we'll get back into that at some point. I gotta rope us back to 305 now. I keep going off on these tangents, bro. My mind goes everywhere. Fucking might as well put me up to an ADHD tester at this point. So
we're fine. We're only like 10 minutes into this, and we're only really gonna be going over the main card here because the featured
prelim
was
is kind of a miss, bro. It's not noteworthy at all. I mean, it's a good fight. I'm sure it'll be a good fight, but like, it's just not noteworthy. I gotta take a sip of this labelless water.
So consider this just filler talk. Obviously, we're anxious to see more from the Diaz brothers back in MMA. Excited to see them show up there. 308. It's gonna be hot. Wondering what 307 is. Who knows? Maybe we'll get Greggy there. I highly doubt it. I'm just saying, my own opinion. He's not gonna show up for that. But hopefully, I'll see Greggy actually fight before the year's up.
Maybe.
Hopefully.
Maybe. 307 is supposed to be in Salt Lake City. Salt Lake City usually has a good fight card, so I got high expectations. Hopefully Dana doesn't fucking let me down. But he just might if he announced 308 before 307, so fuck, who the hell knows? But anyway, back to Li Jingliang. Carlos Prate's here. Li Jingliang's got this, guys. I'm sorry, I just don't see Brett's winning this one at all. I think Li Jingliang needs a win. This will be his win. This is a good matchup for him, and I think that's what they're gonna do. Plus, he's kind of popular. He's like charismatic in his own like unique way.
You just want his suit.
Yeah, he just wanted his suit. I mean, because he wanted that suit, then I don't know. He got all the sympathy votes in the world. So I mean, fuck it. Let's get his stock harder. Let's get his stock fucking higher. So Li Jingliang, I'm gonna call it by either decision or late knockout. What you got, Ant?
So when we were going over the notes for this, exactly what I said was this first card's the only ones I don't really know much about. As you guys know, I only started watching 2 years and 8 months ago.
Yeah.
And so with that short length of time as compared to
4 years, roughly.
It's different seeing every other week 12 different fighters to take note of, more if you count the prelims and whatnot. So, what interests me about this is that is it Li Jingliang?
Jingliang, yeah.
Is that the person he's fighting against lost on a fight night and is now opening a pay-per-view. So it seems like he's gonna get fed to him. I'm sorry, man. Maybe you can pull something off.
Maybe.
I haven't followed you two as closely. One hasn't fought in like 2 years, so.
So it makes sense.
And the other one didn't impress me because I take note of like the fighters who impress me and what they do.
Obviously.
Like, backflipping over a guard, just
Michel Pereira type shit,
just a liver kick from a down position.
Heel kick to the liver. Irene Aldana. Yep.
It's just these things catch my eye. And hopefully I see something like that from this fight. But, yeah, give me Li Jingliang for this.
That's what I got for this one. This next one I'm actually kind of excited for because both of these guys are at a point in their career where it's either you got to shit or get off the pot. At this point, both of these guys have had such a fall from grace the past couple of years. And of course, I'm talking about the matchup at heavyweight between Tai Tuivasa and Jairzinho Rosenstrike. Oh God, guys, both of these guys have had the most up and down careers, and downward as of late. So, except for Jairzinho. Jairzinho is coming off of a win right now, but that's after.
Rosenstrike did some good things.
Yeah, like he's coming off a win after losing, then winning a fight, then losing the fight prior to that. It just a very up and down record for Mr. Jairzinho Rosenstrike and Tai Tuivasa, man. This is just sad. He's on a 4-fight losing streak right now, and they're all by finish. I was going back doing my research on this shit to make the podcast for you guys today, and fuck, man, it just made me sad. I'm like, here's this guy who was just like the shit in like 2021, 2022. Like this was the guy at heavyweight, like the boogeyman at heavyweight right now. It was
Dude
just
got a whole following trending on him because of the shoey, you know.
yeah,
Everyone
like,
loves something you can get behind, and with Tai Tuivasa, you had that with the shoey after the matches and whatnot, and it caught on, and it brought fans in, and fans connected over it, and you would see them in the crowd doing shoeys and whatnot
yeah.
when he showed up. So when you have something like that, it's like a
like
volatile hype train.
Exactly.
Keep going.
He just and plus Tai Tuivasa is so fun. The dude does not give a shit. He's just a happy-go-lucky guy. He don't give a shit, bro. He's just chilling, you know.
Exactly, he's great to watch, and you know we like when our MMA fighters have fun with it too, because then they like doing it, and then we get to see more from them because they're willing to put out more.
And it's so sad because the past 2 years he's done nothing but lose, and it's just sad. Like this dude was at like the height of his popularity when he fucking knocked out Derek Lewis back in February of 2022 because Derek Lewis had just had a really good stretch of time prior to that fight and then lost to Tuivasa. So, I mean, it just Tai Tuivasa was at the top of his hype train, like right there when he knocked out Derek Lewis, and just dude has neglected to win since. After that fight, he got TKO'd by Cyril Gane in September of 2022. Then he got KO'd by Sergey Pavlovich. And then when Pavlovich was ripping shit up last year, he's barely even been around this year. But I think only one fight, and it was kind of recently. And then he got subbed by Volkov, which it was an Ezekiel choke too, so like his fucking forearms was cranking on his neck like that, and that just sucks. And then he just got subbed by Marcin Tybura, who's actually fighting this weekend on a fight night. Oh, at the time of this recording, it's August 7th. We still have the August 10th not pay-per-view, fight night coming up, and Marcin Tybura is at the top of the bill facing somebody. I don't remember who, but you know, it's just poor Tuivasa. He's just been losing lately, and all by finish, and it just sucks. Been knocked out twice and subbed twice, and I'm like, this dude was just number 3 in the world like 2 years ago. Like, dude was at the height of his career fighting Cyril Gane. If he beat Cyril Gane, man, he would have gotten the next title fight, but nope, that didn't happen. Cyril Gane ended up winning in September of 22, then went on to face John Jones for the heavyweight title in March of 2023. And then he would lose that fight, and it just sucks.
Yeah, I think at this point I'm just gonna stop liking heavyweights because anytime I like one, they just immediately go down the drain.
Like for real, that's like exactly what happened with you and Tuivasa too. You and Cyril Gane as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Gane, Tuivasa, freaking D-Lou. It's just
there's a reason why we ranked heavyweight at 2 on our last podcast.
Over. At least they have a defending interim champion.
A defending interim champion. Listen to that. A defending interim champion. I will never get over this until it's solved. Okay, guys. You're going to hear me and continue to hear me bitch about this shit until it's solved. Dana White, get your cahoots in order. Pick up your cojones and fucking do the unification fight. Fuck the Stipe fight, okay? Fuck the Stipe fight. Do Aspinall and Jones. But if you're gonna do the fucking Stipe fight, which it looks like you're gonna do the fucking Stipe fight, then have the winner of that, which is gonna be John Jones, face the interim champion. Don't let Tom Aspinall wait any longer than he has to. He is a defending interim champion. He wore the black and gold shorts before John Jones did. And John Jones is your supposed undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. I'm like, and Dana was just on an interview a couple days ago saying that he said something like, I don't think he meant it in this way, but it was just irky hearing him say it. He was just in an interview. I forget who. I think it was Bloody Elbow. He was on an interview with, and he said Tom Aspinall doesn't deserve that fight right now, and I'm like, motherfucker. He just beat fucking who's the dude he beat? Curtis Blades. Like, he said he doesn't deserve that fight right now, and I'm like, I really hope this is fake news and this was an old interview that they just kind of clipped and said it was that. I'm really hoping it was that because I don't think Dana White is that much of a John Jones meat rider, but he just might be. But fuck it, man. This match at heavyweight, it's a do or die for both of these guys. Both of them are like, they need to win this fight. They both do. Rosenstrike is coming off of a win right now versus Shamil Gaziev, who unranked heavyweight. And that was in March of this year. And that was, he won that fight in March, but he lost the fight prior to that. Won the fight prior to that, lost the fight prior to that, lost the fight prior to that, and just, I don't know. Rosenstrike's just been everywhere lately. He also had he's just had a very up and down career lately. Both of these guys are good. Both of these guys have a lot of power. I don't think either of them are gonna wrestle. If I'm being honest with you, they're both
heavyweight
strikers
with a lot of power. Huh?
Yeah, they both do. You know, heavyweight's got power, guys. Shocked, right? But nah, if I don't know who wants it more at this point in time. But just for the sake of my own health and my own emotional well-being, I'm going to take Taito Ivasa, and I'm doing a shoey if and when he wins, okay? Because I will be like, yes, this dude finally gets one over on somebody. So give me Taito Ivasa by a round 1 knockout. What you got?
Beat the skid!
Beat the skid.
I got Tuivasa.
Come on, Tuivasa. Do it for us, man. Do it for us, bro. I think it's going to be a good fight. I don't think it's going to last very long.
The thing is, with this, you can get Tuivasa right back up on that hype train. It's just such a trendy following that he's amassed that I think you can do more with him. And unlike, let's say, WWE, where things are sort of
predetermined.
Yeah. Like pathed out for a while, we'll say. This isn't the case here, but if they win, I feel you can do more with Tuivasa, and I want to see that.
I think you can just get him right back on that rocket that he was on before. Like, the dude has that one-punch KO power. You can put him up against anybody, and there's constantly that threat. He knocked out Derek Lewis, for Christ's sake, who has the most knockouts in the UFC ever, all time. So, I mean, that's one pretty good stat, for sure.
The only one heavyweight I can't see ever getting a one-hit knockout on them, and he was released, is Sherman.
Mm-hmm. What about him?
120 headshots.
120 headshots, just
and just... The match went to decision, guys. He just ate him and kept asking for more. He lost because he got 120 head strikes on him.
Yeah, fucking Chase Sherman, man. He's been released from the UFC in this time, but man, if you want to see a fucking granite chin, then either that guy has a fucking granite chin, or the other dude just had fucking pillow hands. Like,
I think I need to see Pereira. I just want Pereira to get a one shot on him and give him like 5K if he stays standing. Just stay right there. We're gonna let this guy hit you because we're trying to figure out what that's made out of.
Fucking goddamn, man! But that's the match at heavyweight. Give me Tuivasa, round 1. I think he's gonna smoke him.
Really?
Yeah, I think he's gonna smoke him.
I'm gonna say hard fought victory, so I'm gonna go with decision.
Yeah. That's, but we're both taking Taito Ivasa regardless. So, next up on our list here, a pretty exciting fight at lightweight here between Mateusz Gamrot and Dan Hooker. Guys, this fight's got like fight of the night written on it. I'll be honest with you, it does. Like if the if the main event doesn't be, if the main and co-main event aren't the fight of the night, because both of the main event and the co-main event are pretty fucking good. It's just if this one's got fight of the night written all over it, though.
Yeah, I'll
I'll
be
be
honest.
honest.
I got more stock in this match than the other two.
Yeah.
And I'll go over them then. But like with these two, I like them both so much.
Yeah, me too.
That irregardless of who wins, I'm gonna be impressed with the fight, and it's definitely gonna be more memorable to me, unless something crazy happens in the other two fights.
The other two fights, like fucking Israel Adesanya comes out with like a fucking spinning elbow and gets him down that way,
Yeah,
but
unless something like, holy shit, did that actually just happen? This is
probably gonna be fight of the night. But Mr. Matut's Gamer Gamrot's on a 3-fight winning streak right now, and he's been doing really fucking good. He's right outside the top 5 of lightweight right now. Let me actually give you guys the exact ranking for him. Once my UFC app loads.
Yeah, I was gonna say you should probably just write down which one they are next to them next time.
Yeah, I did that for the other fights, just not this one. But let's see. Actually, no, Matut's Gamrot is in the top 5. He's number 5 right under Dustin Poirier.
Oh,
So, he took Michael Chandler's spot at number 5, mostly because Michael Chandler didn't fight anybody. So
he's still waiting for his.
He's still waiting for his. He's still waiting for his pimp. He's still waiting for his pimp daddy to come around. So you know, it's just But Gamrot's been doing really good lately. He's newly minted into the top 5, and he's got a 3-fight win going for him. He got a win against Vazeev. He's got a win against Jalen Turner and a win over RDA just this past March. He won against RDA on UFC 299, same card that Dustin Poirier knocked out Benoit Saint-Denis on. And as you guys probably know, if you don't know by now, Mateusz Gamrot and Dustin Poirier are teammates. They train at the same gym. So, you know, they've been on Gamrot's been doing pretty good lately. He's always fun to watch. He's a very reliable guy. He's an active fighter, too. He doesn't really stay away for too long. And he's always fun to watch. Great kickboxing. Supremely good kickboxing. And he's got good, decent wrestling as well as takedown defense on top of it. And he's definitely looking for gold at some point in the near future once they sort out what the fuck is going on at the top of lightweight right now with Islam Makhachev just fucking up every single contender beneath him. Dustin Poirier being one of the many that he's beaten. So whether the next fight for Islam once he comes back from injury is Armin or it's Charles or Gaethje, I don't know. I think
I'm just really fucking hoping that there's an interim belt and that Dustin is up for it.
Dude, if we get Armin Sarukian and Dustin Poirier in a fucking interim title fight, I'm gonna go absolutely badonkers, and I'm gonna have so much fun and also be insanely stressed all at the same time. Okay, that's just going to be how the fight is, and that's every time Dustin Poirier fights for me. So every time I'm very excited, but I'm also extremely nervous and stressed out the entire fight. You can ask this one. You've watched me watch a Dustin Poirier fight multiple times now, okay? You know the emotional impact that Dustin Poirier has on my fucking well-being for the rest of that week. So it's going to be, but, you know, Gamrot's been doing pretty good. And we also have Dan Hooker. Dan the Hangman Hooker finally coming back after about a year away from the octagon, which is totally unlike Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker's usually really active.
Reliable.
And very reliable guy. He always shows up. But he's just been fighting injuries and fight cancellations and sicknesses. The guy's just not had a very good year. You know? So he's finally returning since July of 2023 after his fucking fight of the year contender with Jalen Turner on UFC 290. I think 290. Yeah. So that was a crazy fight, obviously. Go back and watch that fight if you haven't already. Absolute banger. Dan Hooker comes out at the end just barely and wins the fight. But you know, that's just one win. But he's also been really up and down lately, Mr. Dan Hooker, because he's just that guy that gets put up against guys that are usually too hungry and just will get by him, or just somebody that he has no fucking chance against. So let's see. This guy went up again. He's on a 2-fight winning streak right now, but they're kind of few and far in between. He fought Jalen Turner in July of 2023 last year. And he also fought Claudio Puelles back at UFC 281. I was present for that fight. And that was kind of a okay win. because Claudio Puelles has the most knee bar submissions in the UFC, as you guys should probably know. I don't think I've said that statistic before, but it's a noteworthy one. He has the most knee bar submissions, and all Claudio Puelles did the entire fight was just dive for his legs, try to get that knee bar, and it just didn't work for him. He ate one fucking front kick up the middle to the gut, and he was down for the count. So it was like an okay, fine type win. But before that, he lost to Arnold Allen and Islam Makhachev. So I mean, look at that lineup there: Arnold Allen and Islam Makhachev, bro. You just didn't have a good time there. And then, of course, this is also the same guy that went tit for tat with Dustin Poirier back in June of 2020. That's one of my favorite fights to always go back and watch. And that is just MMA like porn. It's just incredible. Like if you want to see like the most brutality that you can in MMA, how brutal it really can get, watch Dustin Poirier versus Dan Hooker. It's just a crazy fight. 5 rounds of just nonstop action. It was insane. Dan Hooker had his moments. Dustin Poirier had his moments. And in that fight, Dustin Poirier did put Dan Hooker to sleep with that ghillie. He just woke up. And Dustin didn't notice that he was out. So, technically, Dustin does have one guillotine submission in the UFC, despite every single time he attempts to jump it. So,
don't be silly.
hop the ghillie. But, he's been up and down, but he's always been, like, a top-tier contender. Like, you always look at Dan Hooker as, like, the guy you gotta beat to see him as legit as possible. He's like that kind of, like, I don't want to say gatekeeper, but gatekeeper. Like the guy, like, if you beat this guy, we're gonna start looking at you a little bit different. So he always brings it no matter what. The dude's a scrapper. Dude will go in there, fucking balls out, all in, no helmet, no pads, all in, balls out. And just give you a fight. Like the dude scraps. And he's like very, very good boxing. He's a long, long guy with pretty good kicks under him too, and a pretty iron chin underneath him too. Do you remember that kick that he just fucking ate from Jalen Turner in that last fight that he was in? It was like a clean shin to the dome. Dan Hooker just ate it and then just moved on with his life. And like the dude's always brings it. He's got excellent striking. He's got good range. He knows how to use it. He's got that front kick. He's got that jab. He knows how to use his length to an advantage here. But as good as Dan Hooker is, I just think Scammer Gamrot is just the better fighter than him at this current moment. Obviously, Dan Hooker always has the potential to surprise you. He always does, because he brings it every time. But, man, I think 8 times out of 10, Gamrot's going to win this fight. So give me Gamrot, probably by a decision, I would say. But it's going to be a really good fight. What you got?
This fight, I got Gamrot for, but it's a lot closer in my mind than that. Like,
well, I said decision.
I think 6 out of 10 times Gamrot wins. Like, that's how close these two are for me. But I'm gonna go with the decision.
Decision here. Now, hard fought decision. Yeah, that's what I think is gonna happen. I think it's gonna be a crazy fight, and it's got pretty good implications. I think the winner of this fight could easily get a number 1 contender fight against somebody at some point, especially Gamrot. Just because Gamrot's number 5, but Dan Hooker's also a big name. People know Dan Hooker. So, people know Dan Hooker. They know what he delivers. And Dan Hooker's that kind of guy that he can lose a bunch of fights, but then he gets one good performance, and he's right back in the title picture. That's just who he is. And I think winner of this fight should probably get a number 1 contender fight. But you never know.
Why isn't Ferguson more like him?
Because Tony Ferguson just doesn't know when to fucking quit, okay? A dude loses 8 times in a fucking row and doesn't retire. Puts one glove in the octagon. He said, I'm going to keep the other one. Just in case I decide to come back, I'm going to go talk it over with my wife. Mrs. Ferguson, please listen to me, okay? Don't let your husband fight again. Please no. It is hurting me emotionally. It is hurting Anthony emotionally.
Emotional damage.
It is just pure emotional damage, and I can't do it. All right. My friend's calling me right now, but he'll have to wait. You know, Mrs. Ferguson, please, please do not let your husband fight again, for the well-being of himself and for us as MMA fans.
Save some depth perception.
Please, he's already lost most of it. So, you know, and it's just, but you know, this fight at lightweight, very exciting. I got a lot of chips in on this fight. I actually think it's gonna be a really, really fucking good fight. Might even be fight of the night because it's kind of has fight of the night written on it. Because you put Dan Hooker and Gamrot in a fight together, bro, it's gonna go crazy. All right, and you know, give me the Gamrot give me the Gamrot by decision. You got him by a decision as well. And now let's move on to this co-main event here. High stakes for this match at flyweight. All right, guys. We have Kai Kara France, who's number 3 in the world, versus Steve Erceg, who's number 6 or 7 in the world, something like that, in that range. Both of these guys are they want to be champion, 100%. Both of these guys have that drive in them to want to get that gold from Pantoja. All right, obviously, guys, you guys know how I feel about Pantoja. He continues to impress me every time he fights, and I respect him more and more as a champion the more he fights, and he hasn't really let me down at all lately. So I think this is a very big match at flyweight. I think this is actually a number 1 contendership fight for the title. I think Pantoja is getting the winner of this fight in his next title defense, assuming he doesn't already have one scheduled that we just don't know about yet. But Kai Kara France is on a 2-fight skid, unfortunately, since losing to Brandon Moreno in July of 2022. All right, he lost to Moreno in the interim championship title fight. That's okay. You lost to Brandon Moreno, and it was at that time that we were just like, we're still in the height of the Moreno Figueiredo. We're in like the third act, the fourth act of this play known as the Moreno versus Figueiredo quadrilogy. This was the fight that set it up. So, actually, no, it wasn't. It was 2 fights after this. But fuck it. Regardless, that was it. We were in the closing moments of that rivalry, and Brandon Moreno just had to get it done, and he got it done.
I just thought of something insane.
What's up?
What if Figueiredo gets the belt, right?
Gets the bantamweight belt?
And then Moreno gets the belt.
At flyweight? Super fight! Let's do it again! Oh, let's do it again! What would it be? A quintology at that point? A quintilogy? Oh, let's fucking get it! I wouldn't mind a 5th fight with these 2 motherfuckers, especially if there's 2 belts on the line. I don't think it would be 2 belts on the line. It would probably be Moreno moving up, if anything. But I wouldn't mind seeing a double champ fight. 5th time, let's fucking do it. I fucking love that fight. I love that fight. I really do. Every time it delivers, and it just gives me something that I can show my friends when they're just getting into MMA.
Exactly. like that's a dream fight. Like these dream fights, they're all the fighters we pay attention to and watch, and they're what I think keep this sport running as cleanly as it is. Because you want to see these fights, and you want to see how they'll attack and counterattack each other. Yes. And that's just one of the many.
Especially when you've spent, fucking 100 minutes with each other in the octagon over the course of 4 years. So, I mean, Jesus Christ, it would be crazy if that ends up being a thing. Moreno gets the belt, and fucking Figueiredo wins the bantamweight belt. Let's fucking do it again! I'm down for it! I really am! But shit, man. Kai Kara France, Steve Erceg, though. We gotta bring it back down. Brandon Moreno's nowhere to be found right now. Unfortunately, he's probably just building Legos. That's fine. But Kai Kara France had been on that 2-fight skid since losing to Moreno in that interim title fight. He ate that body kick to the fucking liver, and then he just went down for the count. All right, and then in his last fight, he took a little while off after that. He didn't come back till about 11 months later after that fight. And he got fucking robbed against Amir Albazi in June of 2023. I am going to stand by the fact that he got fucking robbed. Tell me how 5 minutes of control time beats double the strikes landed, okay? Tell me how that makes sense, all right? It wasn't like it was 10 minutes of ground control time. It wasn't like that. It was like 5 minutes of ground control time. But in the time that Kai Kara France was on his feet, he doubled the amount of strikes that Amir Albazi landed. And I'm like, how in the fuck do you score that shit for Amir Albazi? I'm sorry. I'm gonna stand by it. Fucking Kai Kara France got robbed. All right, I can't even think straight. I'm so mad. you know. But Steve Erceg on the other hand, he's coming off a loss as well, but this one was to the champion. All right, obviously UFC 301 Pantoja Erceg. The number 10 ranked Steve Erceg goes up against the champion in Alessandro Pantoja in a fight that we just thought Pantoja would just mow through Steve Erceg, right? Nope. And granted, I did make a good case for him when we did have the 301 podcast, but
but you also made a good case for Kobe Covington.
Yeah, and whenever I make great cases for people, they end up losing. So I did make a good case for him. I was very respectful. I still predicted that Pantoja would win, and I was right. But I would tell you that Steve Erceg is not to scoff at. And he brought it to the champ, man. It was a fucking war. Went down to the final bell, and it was extremely close fight. You even have some people on like MMA Twitter and Instagram shit like that were like actually calling robbery for Steve Erceg over Pantoja. So I'm like, this Steve Erceg's stock is pretty fucking high right now. Honestly, after that out of nowhere stellar performance versus the champion at number 10 ranked. And Kai Kara France made his call on an interview. He called him out saying, let's fight Steve Erceg. Winner gets Pantoja. You know, I'll put my rank on the line, and we'll see if he can get back there and beat him, or if I'm better and I can beat him. You know, so it's a really honorable call out from Kai Kara France, wanting to give the new guy light after him just having a good fight to keep his stock high, but also to prove once again that he's the best. So it was a very close fight with Pantoja, and his stock's extremely high. He's an excellent boxer, and he has a lifetime of wrestling underneath him. And you saw him in the last fight. Clearly, can come from behind and somehow win rounds against the current standing champion. All right. And he's a long guy, too. He's really tall for the weight class. I think he's like 5'10 at 125, which is fucking huge for flyweights. So, most of the time flyweights are between like 5'5 and like 5'7. Like, usually they're not that big. But, this guy's like 5'10 fighting at flyweight, and he knows how to use that length, too. And if it does get down to the mat, he knows what to do down there, too. So, this is, like I said, most likely a number one contendership fight. And both of them have a case to get back to the top. And both of them still want to be champion. And that's the kind of stuff that you like to see in these contenders like that, right? Especially when the old guard wants to face the new one, right? That's another big thing. Not that Kai Kara France is old. He's 31. And he hasn't been in the UFC for all that long. And he hasn't fought all that much. So, best he's gotten was an interim title fight, and then he lost in the interim title fight. And he still has his eyes on the prize. And, I think it's going to be a pretty good fight here. Very big implications at 125. But I got to say, guys, I think Kai Kara France is going to barely do it. No, barely. Like, I think it'll probably be either a split decision or, like, a mad late finish, like, last, like, 2 minutes of the 5th round within that time period. But I got Kai Kara France for this one. I think he's going to get it done. What you got?
This one's incredibly close for me.
Oh, yeah. That's why I said barely.
Like, even closer than the
Gamrot and Hooker.
6'4" Gamrot Hooker. I feel, though, that Erceg is going to pull a win out of this.
Barely?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how. And it's going to be crazy.
Plus flyweight, man. Them motherfuckers, they can fight all night. Them cardio kings.
But what I can say is I can't wait to see it.
It is going to be a fucking barn burner. It's going to be a good one. Like, if Gamrot and Hooker doesn't get it, this one probably might get fight of the night. Actually, all three of these fights, like the Gamrot, Kara France, and Gamrot and Hooker, Kara France, and Erceg, and DuPlessis, and Adesanya, all have potential to be a fight of the night, obviously. But I think one of these three fights is going to get it done. But holy shit, man. Kai Kara France and Steve Erceg is going to be a crazy fight. Both of these guys are like, I want to get to the top, and you're in my way. You're the last title challenger. You had a great performance against the champion. But guess what? That champion hasn't fought me yet. And I don't understand why you got it before I did, obviously. the reason why is because Cara France was injured and couldn't get that fight in time. But you got the title fight before me. You were unsuccessful. I still want that gold. I came this close. I was in an interim title fight, and I could have been winning 3-1 against Moreno until he finished me. now, now I'm coming for your ass, because if I beat you, the guy that they said that they robbed you of the title, then it's my turn, man. They get me up there. But then Steve Urseg's like, I beat that motherfucker, and you're in my way, mate. So I'm going through you. So it's just like, it's like the stakes are high for this matchup, and I think both men's trajectories are going to be reliant on who wins this fight. And with Cara France being around, he's 31. Urseg's only like 28. Urseg has more likelihood of getting another chance than Cara France does, in my opinion. That's my backing behind Cara France, just because I think he's gonna want it. But then again, Urseg also fucking wants it. So, and he's that young guy that wants to beat the old guy to get back in there. So, it's going to be an excellent fight. I got high expectations for Cara France and Urseg. But, enough talking about that fucking co-main event. Let's get on to this fucking main event. You know, the one that we're being sold on pay-per-view, you know?
He's got a page and a half of notes here.
Yeah, I do. I wrote a whole lot about this one, guys. Because there's a lot to talk about with both of these guys. Because, obviously, main event guys, DuPlessis, middleweight champion of the world, versus Israel Adesanya, number 2 ranked middleweight in the world, right under Sean Strickland. All right, so Izzy's back, first time since losing his title against Strickland in September of 2023. And I gotta say, Izzy's presence has been missed. His absence has been felt within the middleweight division. Plus, this guy that would fight 3 times a year didn't fight once this year. So it's just like that absence is felt. I'm like, damn, so weird. I've gotten to this point in the year and I haven't had an Israel Adesanya pay-per-view yet. You know, that's just way beyond the time period.
I feel like he's gonna come out to Guess Who's Back.
Back again. Izzy's back. Tell a friend. That'd be funny. Imagine he walks out of Houdini. You fucking can't lose at that point. You're walking out to Eminem, bro. All right, but regardless of, he's some of the best. I don't really need to tell you much about Israel Adesanya, but I'm gonna fucking tell you something about Israel Adesanya, all right?
Do we have a spider spotlight on him yet?
No, we don't, actually. Maybe that's a episode for the future. We haven't made a fighter spotlight since Max Holloway, and that one ain't even uploaded yet. So, coming soon, guys.
You're teasing them with it now.
Yes. I was made before 300 though, so I'm thinking, I'm like, do we have to edit some shit, or do I just?
No.
And like, nah.
We don't edit it.
Yeah, because it was made before 300, because we were still talking about the Gaethje and Max Holloway matchup on that one. But you know, coming soon, guys.
If you can hit the upload button.
If I could just, hit the upload button 1 week, then that'd be fucking tremendous. I like making those fighter spotlights though, because there's like no time limit on them. I mean, obviously it's gonna be a little outdated. Max Holloway beat Justin Gaethje, and we didn't know that at that time.
I like how you just pointed out how it has no time limit, and you just said it's a little outdated. I mean, this is just as a co-host point of view here.
Yeah.
That shit probably would have been hot like the week before 300. Like.
Yeah, I probably really fucking missed the ball with the upload on that Max Holloway special, but you know what? Fuck it, it's still out there.
We still got it.
It's in the archives. It'll get uploaded at some point. But anyway, Izzy's absence has definitely been felt. I'll be honest. At this point in the year, I'm an Izzy guy. Pretty big Izzy fan, right?
No.
So I'm like,
he could have fooled me.
like Israel Adesanya is up there. It's some of my favorite fighters, right? But like, it just sucks. 'Cause I'm like, damn, where my boy at? But I thought that was the best move for him after losing to Strickland the way he lost to Strickland, just because like I think he needed that time to regroup, reassess, and plus like Israel Adesanya is like 35 years old. You know, he doesn't really need to. He's not in the prime of his career anymore, but he's not on the downswing just yet. But he is coming off a loss, a pretty dominant loss to say the least. But not taking anything away from Strickland, but there was just something off about Adesanya that night. There really was. Just didn't, or maybe Sean Strickland's just that fucking good. But it could be a combination of both.
I think we said it when we went over how our reaction was. It was just gassed out Izzy.
Izzy ran out of bullets, man. Like he just fucking, yeah, it just he just ran out of bullets. But he just didn't seem like himself that night. But at the same time, Strickland was the man that night. I'm not trying to take anything away from Strickland.
Yeah, Strickland was on point. Izzy wasn't himself.
Yeah, it just I'm not calling it a fluke by any means. Sean Strickland did walk Izzy down for 5 rounds. So I mean,
this is exactly like when we say 9 out of 10 times, a 9-1, like they'll win.
It's just strange.
Did anyone give Strickland the correct amount of odds there? I don't think so.
No, definitely
not. If you asked me back then, I would say probably 8-1 odds Izzy has it.
And that one just happened to happen that night.
Yeah, but looking at how Strickland performed afterwards,
no, it's more
I'd
like
say it's probably like 5-1.
5-1 for Strickland. I'd say 4-1.
Just from what I've seen of the discography of Strickland and of Adesanya. Like, I know they both put in the work. I know Strickland came back after that horrendous motorcycle accident.
Yeah, 2018.
Which means he wants it and he's hungry for it.
And he got it.
But myself, just in the 2 years I've seen, like he said, you have Adesanya fucking fighting every goddamn other month.
Basically. It's just from having that schedule to not even one Izzy Adesanya pay-per-view at all this year. It's just kind of fucking crazy.
So it's just at that point, and this point, I'd see more from Izzy than I did Strickland.
Yeah. And, Israel Adesanya, though, I'm going to go over it quick. He's some of the best talent to come out of middleweight. I'll be honest. He's like one of the best at 185.
I think you have him ranked second best?
Yep, second best right under Anderson Silva. So, he's the second best middleweight in the world. Yeah, obviously, Anderson Silva, best middleweight. But, and then, of course, Chael P. Sonnen, the fucking god of the middleweights, looking at Anderson Silva, his glorious creation, and saying, that's my guy. I purposely threw that match so that I could show you how awesome this guy was. Chael P. Sonnen, the god of 185.
He's like, you all know I'm the best, so I wanted you to spotlight him and show you how great he is.
I fucking love Chael, man. But Israel Adesanya, man, the records speak for itself, man. Like, he's a 2-time middleweight champion. Basically ran this division from fucking August of 2019 to November of 2022 just to regain the belt, continue for a majority of 2023 to stay the champion, and then losing it to Strickland. Like, this guy's a 2-time middleweight champion, ruled over 85 from 2019 to 2022. That's the big one. That's the Stylebender era right there. That was the era that I started watching UFC in, that he was the first guy that I latched myself to that wasn't named Conor McGregor. So, obviously, the Stylebender era and Israel Adesanya got a special place here, man. He does. He always will. Obviously, you guys know my favorite fighter is Dustin Poirier. I'm very open about this, but, before I looked further into Dustin Poirier, Israel Adesanya was right there with Conor McGregor, when I first got into the sport. But, he had 5 title defenses against, top-tier guys. Robert Whittaker twice. He beat Robert Whittaker to get the belt in August, and then he beat Robert Whittaker again in February of 2022, right? Marvin Vettori, he beat him twice. Only one of them was in a title fight, but he did beat Marvin Vettori twice, which is insane. And Jared Cannonier, who was looking really good at the time that he was fighting Israel Adesanya, coming off that crazy knockout versus Derek Brunson. And then Izzy goes in there and just makes him look like an amateur, right? Just has his way with him the whole fight. And then you had Paulo Costa. He knocked him out with, emphatic fashion in September of 2020. And then, of course, you had the lackluster Yoel Romero fight, which should have been so much better than it was. But if you need some free melatonin, go ahead and watch Adesanya versus Yoel Romero. It's the most boring fight you'll ever watch. But, he still beat Yoel Romero, though. That's the thing.
Is it possible to be more boring than that other fight? The
what?
one?
What with Namajunas and Esparza?
They just hugged the whole time.
Oh man, I don't know, man.
Like that fight's the one that'll put me to sleep.
Yeah.
Like, I think it did actually.
It
But like
probably did.
round fucking 3 and 4, I was just like.
Sleeping out here.
I woke up and like, did I miss anything? No.
Not really. This has been the same shit the whole time, man. And then, aside from the title wins, Israel Adesanya has wins against Kelvin Gastelum, who was coming fresh off the Ultimate Fighter, was looking really good in an interim title fight against him, and one of the best like interim title fights you'll see, or title fights in general. I'll just say that's some of the best you'll see right there. Israel Adesanya and Kelvin Gastelum went crazy in that fight. Both swung it until the very end, and Israel Adesanya was this close to finishing Kelvin Gastelum. He in the last round, but Kelvin Gastelum got saved by the bell. Then Israel Adesanya won the decision. But he had that war with him to get the interim championship, which gave him his ticket to get to Robert Whittaker, an emphatic knockout over Robert Whittaker to gain the title. And then he also beat Derek Brunson when he like first came onto the scene, right? Like in November of 2018, like he beats Derek Brunson, who was pretty much top of his game at that time. And then he also beat, mind you, he's the one that retired Anderson Silva, the guy that I think is the best middleweight in the world. And like he retires and gets the torch passed to him by Anderson Silva. And then of course, not forget to mention, guys, he's the only person in the UFC that's beaten Alex Pereira. Nobody else has cracked the Alex Pereira fucking puzzle than Israel Adesanya.
Listen, you just need 7 years of plot armor.
7 years of bloodlust, because this one guy keeps beating you, okay? And then when you start making your own way, this guy comes in to spoil the party, and then takes your title from you. And then you go, oh, nah, motherfucker, I'm coming for your ass now. You beat me twice, 3 times now. And I'm like, what the fuck? So, like, Israel Adesanya, man, is the only person in UFC that has beaten Alex Pereira officially. I still think Jan Blachowicz beat Alex Pereira. But it is what it is. Judges' scores are judges' scores, and that's final. As much as I don't agree with them. But officially, Alex Pereira's only lost once in the UFC, and that was to Israel Adesanya. In an emphatic way, too. It's like these, damn, kind of knockout that fucking, oh no, I'm hurt. You're going to finish me like you did the last fight, psych bitch. Come through with that, right?
I remember calling that one, too. I'm like, he played possum there. He was playing possum.
Oh no, you're gonna finish me like you did in the last fight.
He was letting him think that he got the upper hand so that he could leave himself open just to...
Came right through with that right, knocked him out.
The fuck out.
And then
give him 3.
Three arrows every single time this motherfucker beat me. 2, 3, bitch. Like, nah, man, it was fucking crazy seeing Israel Adesanya conquer his fucking boogeyman like that. But he's the only guy to beat him since he debuted in 2021. Nobody else has stopped Alex Pereira except for Israel Adesanya, and that's after 7 years of bloodlust, and walking out to Headstrong by Trapped, obviously, because that gives you superpowers. Walking out to Headstrong by Trapped, it's gonna give you superpowers. So I knew as soon as like that fucking music hit, I knew what the song was right away. I'm like, oh man.
Well, what the name would probably be good too.
Oh Jesus, that would be sick too. But it's just like he's walking out to like I heard the song and I'm like, oh man, there's no way he's losing this shit, man. He mean business. All right, Contender Izzy is like a mythical character. Okay, like a Contender Izzy when he's like not the champion is undefeated. Every single time he's challenged for a belt, he won. Yeah. Like, Contender Izzy, legendary, like, on the rarity scale, It just, and then, the title holder Izzy's a little bit meh. He has 2 losses, but
he's like
still.
A.
He's like A tier, but fucking Contender Izzy, S tier, okay? And, like, obviously, losing that belt after conquering his boogeyman, because I think we've said it 1,000 times whenever we mention Israel Adesanya or Sean Strickland on here. It's just like, Izzy ran out of bullets with Alex Pereira, man. He really did. Like, he spent all of this time, I have to beat this guy, I have to beat this guy, I'm gonna beat him, I'm gonna beat him, I'm gonna beat him. Fucking beats him. And then, after that, he just It's like this giant raging fire got put out so suddenly. Like somebody put a fire blanket over it. You know what I mean? Like just put it out like that. And I think that might have contributed. Now, probably definitely did contribute to his lackluster performance against Sean Strickland, but also Sean Strickland was just on point that night, man. He just knew what he had to do, and he just fucking did it, you know. But that's he's one of the UFC's top guys, and he's usually extremely active, and he's one of the biggest draws next to Conor McGregor. So I mean, Israel Adesanya's got a history. He's got a track record. He's got the longevity in the UFC now. It's crazy how just a couple years ago he was the new dog in the yard coming in. Now he's like the one that's been here, made a name for himself, and is kind of just reveling in the glory of it now. Israel Adesanya doesn't really need to fight anymore, you know, but he's coming back for the to try to get his belt back again, become a 3-time middleweight champion.
Did you find it weird that he said he was coming back for Blood Not Code
and he got a title shot? I think that was just Dana White, wanting to put Izzy in a title fight.
Yeah, but I thought it was weird though.
Yeah, it was weird because Israel Adesanya did say that.
Was this before DuPlessis got the belt?
Mm-mm.
So I'm wondering who he was referencing.
Maybe it was Strickland. No, who knows? I mean, he was the only other guy that beat him who wasn't named Alex Pereira or Jan Blachowicz, because Jan Blachowicz beat him.
Left an open invitation for him, so I don't think it was that. That's nothing personal. He's like, hey, I want to give you a shot. Get back in here.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I don't know what they were referencing with that. What he was referencing with that.
We'll hear more later.
Yeah, more on that later. But guys, I made a supremely good case for Israel Adesanya. I didn't really need to make because you guys already know by now. But Dracus DuPlessis, man, he's no easy fight for anybody. This guy is.
I'm trying to think of who would say that DuPlessis was an easy fight.
Well, there's a lot of people, myself included, that have just doubted him every single time he got a big name opponent, and then he would end up beating that person. It just like beating him, like line him up. I think that's why people are thinking it's like an easy fight. Easy fight? He's not an easy fight. Dracus DuPlessis is
He's a champion.
A champion. He beat the guy that beat Izzy. Not that MMA math works every time, but he beat Izzy. Not Izzy, Sean Strickland. He hasn't faced Izzy yet. He will on August 17th. But Dracus, he's good everywhere, man. And every time he's doubted, man, like I mentioned, he delivers. As soon as he got that matchup against Darren Till, Darren Till's going to beat him. Beats Darren Till. No way he gets past Brunson. Beats Brunson. Absolutely zero shot he gets past Robert Whittaker. Knocks out Robert Whittaker. Even with Sean Strickland. I think I predicted Strickland to win that fight back in our UFC 297 podcast. I was like, I think Strickland is riding high off of that win, off of Adesanya. He wants to keep the momentum going, and I think Dracus is in for a bad night. What did Dracus do? Took the fucking belt from him. Every time that I've doubted Dracus, he's beaten the guy I thought he would beat. I thought he beat the guy that I thought would beat him.
It's saying whenever you're doubting him, he wins. Saying anytime you make a strong case for someone, they lose. Maybe you're bad luck.
Maybe I am, at this point. I fucking wouldn't surprise me at this point. But, Dracus is good. Man, he just had a fight of the year with Sean Strickland. That's my fight of the year so far. And just because how close it was, it came down to the wire. Like, it was a split decision victory for Dracus. Got to keep that in mind. One judge gave the fight to Strickland. And then 2 gave it to Dracus, obviously. But, it was a crazy fucking fight. And, he's a very unorthodox fighter. He's well-rounded. And he has a solid record in just a short amount of time that he's had this relevancy. He's had this relevancy for about maybe 2 years to 1 year right now. Like, I'll say a year and a half, right? He's had, like, this surge of, like, relevancy, right? So, he's undefeated in the UFC, 7-0. And 5 of his wins, some notable wins against Brad Tavares. That's how he got into the rankings. Then he beats Darren Till by a submission. Then he knocks out Derek Brunson in March of 2023. Knocks out Robert Whittaker in July of 2023. And then gets a split decision victory over Sean Strickland in January of this past year. Like, every time Drakus fights, man, he just proves people wrong. And that's the thing that's scary about this fight, because like you mentioned at the top of the podcast, the the result of this fight is going to depend on the version of Israel Adesanya that shows up. If it's the Israel Adesanya that faced Paulo Costa and Alex Pereira the second time in the UFC, death to Drakus. But if it's the version of Adesanya that fought Sean Strickland, the slow, kind of lethargic one that tried to find counter strikings that he just wasn't finding, or just couldn't make reads, couldn't get his range, couldn't do the normal things that Israel Adesanya does. If it's that version, because all the time away that he's had, then Drakus has got this in a bag, easy. But and that's it, and it's tough, makes it tough to predict this fight because of that reason. Now, if I am to give you a prediction, my heart wants Israel Adesanya, but my head's telling me Drakus, so I'm gonna say Drakus by a decision. I think Drakus is gonna retain. I don't know where Israel Adesanya goes after this, but I'm going early prediction right now. I'm slightly like a 55 to 45 ratio. I'm going to the 55 side, which is Drakus DuPlessis. So early, I'm going to tell you Drakus is going to get a decision against Israel Adesanya. Not that I want that to happen. I just think that's what's going to happen. What you got?
So yeah, 55-45?
Like 55-45.
I have absolute faith in Adesanya, and I'm going to say he's going to do it with a round 2 knockout.
Really?
And I'm telling you this because the thing is, and this is probably going to be a long-winded explanation.
That's fine. I do those all the time.
But Adesanya, you obviously know more about his history than me. But let's dumb it down for everyone. Two losses.
In the UFC?
Pereira and
He has 3.
no, but like after the after the streak, Pereira.
Yeah, Pereira beat him.
And Strickland.
Jan Blachowicz beat him when he tried to move up to 205.
Okay, that's a different rank.
That's different.
But your win's a win. So we're just talking about his division right now. 2 losses. How many wins?
Yes.
Now, I'm saying this because the thing to take into account, or at least that I'm using as my argument here, is Adesanya is that good. What happened was a slip-up against Strickland. I really do think Pereira's got his number, though, when it comes to that. And I think that he just had his number to settle that beef when he won him. And besides those 2 times, Adesanya has always shown me that he's the guy I can put my faith into. Now, nothing against DuPlessis?
DuPlessis, yeah.
DuPlessis. Nothing against DuPlessis, but I've seen a lot from Adesanya that gives me the confidence to say he's got this. I think that we're probably only ever going to see that guy who showed up against Strickland in his last ever fight in UFC, because he's always shown that he has what it takes and the heart to keep going. And I think what stopped him before was the Pereira loss, because he had your number, and then the exhaustion from finally conquering your demon that's been haunting you for 7 years. I also am curious with the heel turn that he pulled against DuPlessis.
Yeah, he did.
I don't know why the hell he did it.
I think it was just to hype the fight.
Yeah, but it's still a weird thing because it puts you like in a different perspective to your fans. Like, oh, why did he do this? There's got to be something to it or whatnot. But I feel like he's got the motivation to come back stronger than ever.
Yeah, I mean, that's a solid That's a solid explanation right there. Guys, I'm really, really fucking torn on this fucking main event, man. It's such a close fight on paper. And I honestly think it is reliant on the version of Adesanya that shows up. Like, it just, that's what it's going to come down to. But I think we can both agree the winner gets Sean Strickland.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, winner gets Sean Strickland.
Unless, does Whitaker have a fight?
Whitaker's fighting Hamzat Chimaev.
Do we have a date for that?
I think that's on 308. So
Yeah, okay,
October, like the end of October.
That's way further off. Then yeah, when it gets Strickland. I was gonna say that if Whitaker does something that that shows up, he gets his belt back. He gets a shot at his belt back.
As he fucking should. I'm kind of
if
totally.
he fucking first round KOs the guy within the first 2 minutes,
which would be insane
put
if
him right there,
like,
right in championship.
Let him do it.
Wait a second.
Yeah,
if there wasn't such a gap between the time, I'm saying.
Yeah, it's just because middleweight's so top, like fucking clogged up. Needs some fucking Drano, bro. And I think the thing that's like hurting the division is the fact that it took him 8 months to get another fight, man. Like, it just like he's just not as active as Adesanya was. Like Adesanya, he was like fighting every other month. It seemed like every 3 months, 4 months, it was Adesanya, Adesanya, Adesanya. So therefore, that was how he was able to run through the middleweight division in the time that he did. It's because he just kept fighting contender after contender after contender. And then you have DuPlessis, who just takes a back seat for about 8 months after having a close fight with Sean Strickland, which I get it. You were really hurt after that fight, for sure. They both were really hurt after that fight. But then Strickland fought again in June, like 6 months later. I think Drake should have been fighting about that time.
But yeah, it makes sense with the timeline, but like when it comes to how often they take fights, I also think that affected Adesanya because he was just doing fights after fights after fights.
Yeah,
it caught up to him. I think this time off did wonders for him, and he's gonna show up for it.
Man, show us who he is.
The problem with the inactive champions is you're not sure what they're doing with the time. You're hoping they're in the gym, keeping it up and whatnot.
But you never know.
But I mean, they could just be enjoying time with their family.
Exactly.
These are people too with relationships that they got to deal with and problems they got to deal with, like Reigns' father,
like
right?
Roman Reigns' dad, and
There's a lot of shit that goes on. It's not just what you see.
Yeah, obviously they're humans too, guys. But yeah, that's the UFC 305 card. But before we go, I'm gonna give you guys the rundown for the confirmed 308 card since we neglected to do that this past weekend. But wait until you hear what they got in store for this one, guys. You're gonna love it. I can almost guarantee you. So, UFC 308 is going down in Abu Dhabi, which is crazy that they announced another Abu Dhabi event while having an event in Abu Dhabi. So,
I think they want 15 a year.
Yep. So UFC 308 is confirmed for Saturday, October 26th. That's probably a lot of you are going to be celebrating Halloween at that time. So let's see. I won't be because I got fights to watch. But we have Ilia Topuria and Max Holloway top of the bill for the featherweight championship of the world. We're going to see if Max Holloway fucking handles Ilia Topuria or if Topuria
ever had a shot against that Max Holloway wall.
Yeah, or if Topuria proves us all wrong and is the first person to knock out Max Holloway in the UFC, which I hope not. But we also have our co-main event, 5 rounds. All right, there's 3 5-round fights on this shit, guys. I'm pretty sure. So yeah. we got 5-round co-main event, Robert Whitaker, Khamzat Chimaev. Khamzat Chimaev, obviously, we have not seen him since last October when he fought Kamaru Usman on short notice. But we also have Robert Whitaker, who just fought.
Oh, wasn't that Usman fighting him on short notice?
Yeah, Usman fought him on short notice.
So he had all the time to prepare.
Yeah, and but we have Robert Whitaker. He just got that big knockout in the beginning of July against Ikram Aliskerov, which Ikram Aliskerov stepped in for Khamzat Chimaev. Khamzat Chimaev had some health issues going on, and it looks like he's better. He's ready to go now, which is great. Khamzat Chimaev, 13-0 in the UFC, and a whole lot of finishes under his belt, but he fought like 5 times in 2020, I'm pretty sure. And then a dude just has not been as active as that year since then because of his health. But that fight against Robert Whitaker, we already saw it was already about to happen. Now it's going to happen, and I'm very happy that it's going to happen because this is a big one for Khamzat Chimaev. I mean, Khamzat Chimaev beat Kamaru Usman, which Not taking anything away from you. They beat Kamaru Usman, bro. But at the same time, Kamaru Usman came in on 10 days' notice. And he was in a weight class that he wasn't accustomed to. 185. He was 170 for his entire career.
I mean, at least we got to see Usman fight.
Mm-hmm. I haven't seen Usman since.
Where you been, Usman?
Where you been, Usman? Maybe he comes to Salt Lake City. Or does he not want to step in Salt Lake City again?
Wants to go to Salt Lake City.
Maybe he goes to Salt Lake City. Or does he not want to do that? I don't think he wants to do that. That's where he lost his fucking belt.
The Salt Lake City head cut.
Oh, man. And then Justin Gaethje, his teammate, got one on Dustin Poirier the next year, which was fucking insane. But anyway, I also got, I think, a 5-round event with Cyril Gane. He's fighting somewhere that isn't France. Holy shit.
Don't believe it. Phil has to ring. He has to be in the octagon.
Yep. So Cyril Gane, our number 2 ranked heavyweight right now, against Alexander Volkov.
You can see how much movement happens in that weight class.
Yeah, not a whole lot, man. And then we also have Magomed Ankalaev at light heavyweight versus Alexander Rakic. We also have Lerone Murphy and Dan Ige, which sucks that Dan Ige doesn't get to run it again with Diego Lopez. I wanted to see that fight happen again. But then we also have Jeff Neal and RDA in the featured prelim. So, UFC 308 shaping up to be a really good one. October 26th. Mark your calendars.
And that was 3 5-rounds, right? Because that was my only question. Was
yeah.
it
I think it was
3 5-rounds?
I think the Gane fight is 3 rounds. I know for sure the Whitaker and Chimaev fight is 5 rounds. And we haven't seen Hamzat go 5 rounds yet. That's the big thing. And then obviously title fight 5 rounds. I don't think it's a winner take all. I don't think the BMF's on the line, but I do know the featherweight title's on the line. So,
yeah, I don't see them ever doing a winner takes all for the BMF belt. Because it's kind of the belt that can float between divisions. I think I want to keep it that way.
Yeah, it's just that belt that can go anywhere at any time. I mean, it was at 170. Then it went down to 155. Now it's at 145. Like, yeah, it's just kind of cool. And, BMF title. I fucking love that thing. I know a lot of people don't like it because they think it's like a joke, but I'm like, I think it's cool. It just gives me another excuse to see a 5-round fight between 2 guys that I know are going to bring it. You know what I mean? Like, let's get Max Holloway defending that fucking BMF title against fucking Michael Chandler. That shit would be awesome if that happened.
It's also a really good way to put 2 people who aren't there yet in a spotlight.
Yeah.
Not saying Max Holloway isn't there. Don't ever think I said that.
Never.
You're all lying. But it's like, I'm a big anime fan, right? And if someone holding the belt is someone like Goku, then you're not going to get that belt in that weight class. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, man. I don't know how Goku keys into UFC, but shit.
No, I'm saying, like, when there's someone who's standing at the pillar, and you have someone who's been trying for years
to get up there,
like, let's say Max Holloway did.
Or even Justin Gaethje, if
or
you want to.
Gaethje, yes, exactly. Who have been trying for years and years. And the problem is that anyone sent their way doesn't make it through them. And the problem is they can't make it through the champion. And
Justin
give them
Gaethje.
something else to do.
And then that's where the BMF title comes in. And I think that's fucking amazing. I hope we get a BMF title fight soon. Obviously, not anytime soon. Because Max Holloway, our BMF, is kind of booked right now.
I could see...
He has an El Matador to take care of.
I could see them... It's kind of awful to say, but I could see them stripping him of the BMF belt if he wins this one. Just to put it on someone who's not champion.
It's an interesting take. But anyway, we'll have a whole separate episode for UFC 308 when the time comes. We still got to get through this one. We still got to get through September.
We got to find out what 7 is.
We got to find out what 307 is. But I hope it's not fucking bullshit, man.
It's going to be Greggy.
Is Greggy going to go to Salt Lake, man? I don't know if Greggy wants to go to Salt Lake. I think Greggy wants to go somewhere bigger. But, man, fuck it. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But UFC 305, man, we just wrapped that up. Give me Drakus by a very slight decision. You took Israel Adesanya for this one. Round 2 knockout. So that's our predictions for the main event of UFC 305. And, of course, thank you guys so much for sticking around with us. This is a slightly shorter episode than our last one. The last one was 2 hours long. I'm sorry. We had a lot to go over in that last one.
What the hell? Dude, we went over like 8 different weight
Yeah,
classes.
we had a lot to go over in that one. Sorry.
That's like top
But-
5 each. That's 40 fighters each. I mean, that's like hardly 2 minutes for each. What the hell?
It's fucking crazy. It was a whole lot to cover there, but anyway, that's gonna do it for this episode, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and see you next time.